Hello and welcome everybody to another puzzle challenge video with chessuniversity.com. This is Ryan Murphy, and I'm going to start this video by presenting the solution to yesterday's puzzle challenge. It was white to play and win from this position. So if you haven't seen it already, please take a moment to pause the video, try to find the best move for white. Okay, I'll assume you've paused. If not, last chance. I'm going to continue with the solution. The best move here for white is the move bishop to c5 check, which picks off this knight thanks to the double attack against the king and the knight. And after this, white's going to be up a piece with a winning position, and white did eventually go on to win this game. That is yesterday's puzzle. Now, for today, we have a very different position, where it's once again white to play and win. This time it's forced mate, mate in 2, see if you can spot the whole thing. And we're going to rewind to the start of the game to show how the game developed up to this point. But this was a game played between an 1100, basically two 1100s on chess.com in the rapid time control of game in 30. So let's look at the beginning of the game to see how we got here. This comes from analysis of a game, not actually one of the main lines. So this one started off as a symmetrical king's pawn opening. Black played a very risky move f6 here, which should not be repeated. Usually when your opponent has a bishop staring at where you'd normally like to castle, you do not want to play the move f6 because it weakens the diagonal and actually makes it impossible to castle because, as we know, you can't castle through check. Another additional problem with this move is the weakness of this diagonal, which in many cases can be exploited after the knight moves, as this queen can come to the h5 square, which can be quite inconvenient for black to deal with. For these reasons, the move d4 is very strong because it allows white to put pressure on the e5 square, and if black were to take, immediately there's ideas of queen h5 in the position. Even queen takes d4 just directly is good, or just castles when black has no development and a terribly weakened kingside. So d4 is a good way to punish the position. When your opponent creates weaknesses, opening the center often allows you to get to those weaknesses sooner. In the game, knight c3 was played, knight g to e7, d3, not quite in the same spirit as d4, but it's okay. g6, castles. The problem with black's position is long-term. Those weaknesses of that diagonal from a2 to g8, that's not going to go away anytime soon, and black will not be castling in the short term either. So black is in trouble, just sort of period. Bishop e3, takes, d6, queen to h5, pinning the knight, bishop to e7, and d4 opening the position. f4 was basically doing the exact same thing, and it's justified tactically because the knight is pinned. So if takes, you can actually take with either piece on f4 and to continue the attack, which looks pretty good for white. But d4 is very strong as well. Takes, c5, another positional mistake, weakening the d5 square, which is now a permanent post for one of white's minor pieces, probably the knight. Now bishop e3 was played, protecting the bishop, queen to b6, pawn b3, bishop to d7, knight d5, and queen c6 was played. And here, white had a chance to crank up the pressure a lot, which I think probably would have ended the game very fast, but instead played the move knight takes on e7. But what we're going to look at now is what would have happened had white really tried to seize on their initiative here and make it difficult for black to complete development by castling. So the move in question here that I think is very strong for white is f4, with the simple threat of f5, winning the knight. And there are a couple of ways to unpin. Both king f8 and king d8 don't need very much discussion because they both leave the king in a very vulnerable state. And they don't really stop all the problems. For example, if king f8, we're not going to play f5 anymore, but e5 certainly looks incredibly strong because now the file is going to be opening up. The same goes with king d8. e5 looks very good there as well. If black castles on the queen side, then at minimum f5 followed by, if the knight moves, knight takes e7 fork. And if the knight doesn't move, you just win a knight. So castling long loses a piece for black, and castling short will actually bring us to our critical moment from the start of this puzzle challenge video. Here it is white to play and mate in 2. If you think you see the answer, feel free to drop a comment on the official post, which will be linked in the description of the YouTube video. So if that interests you and you want reward points on chessuniversity.com, please check that out. If not and you just want to solve, you can share your comments on YouTube, and that's cool too. Thanks for watching, everybody, and tomorrow we're going to move on to intermediate difficulty puzzles.